r/LetsNotMeet. Someone I went to high school with lived a fake life on the internet using my identity without me knowing for years. Hey all, I'm pretty new to Reddit, so forgive me if there's a more appropriate subreddit for this story. I've been listening to our compilations on YouTube while drawing lately. One just came up about stalkers and it pushed me over the edge to write out one of a few stories I've been thinking about sharing here for a while now. First off, this story happened almost 10 years ago. I'll jump right in because it's long. I got home from work one day and logged into Facebook to find a message from someone I didn't know. It was too long ago to remember verbatim what was said, but it was along the lines of, "Hey lot lizard, I know you have no idea who I am, but I've been trying to decide what to do for a few days and figured I had to let you know what's been going on. Someone has been catfishing me using your identity for over 2 years and I just found out about it last week." The sender of the email was clearly pretty shaken up and understandably was experiencing a mix of emotions. According to her, she had met the imposter online a little over 2 years prior to her writing this, and that they had been engaged in a pretty intimate long-distance relationship for a majority of that time. The imposter had created a Facebook and had over time reposted almost all of my photos with their own captions to them, including a good amount of art I'd drawn that they took credit for. Haha. They created fake profiles for a good amount of my close family and friends so they could comment on the photos of themselves to make the profile seem legit. The funniest part to me is that although most things in my real life seem to be mirrored in this fake profile, I, straight male, was instead portrayed as trans. I think the main reason for this was that the sender of the email and the imposter would actually speak on the phone, and imposter turned out to be female in the end and therefore needed a reason to justify her more feminine sounding voice. The sender of the email was justifiably both angry and creeped out and wanted to find the catfish. She started asking me a lot of questions about my life, but phrasing them like, "Is your sister's name blank? And did you go to blank high school?" Some of them were clearly information that anyone could glean from a quick browse of my profile. But then she asked, "Is your best friend blank?" Which struck me as odd since despite this person actually being my closest friend, and who I spend the most time with, we have barely any Facebook photos together, and most are from a long time ago. Then she asked, "Were you adopted? And are your half-siblings names Bing and Bong?" Which sealed the deal for me since I knew for a fact I'd never posted about being adopted online. The sender of the email already had an idea that this person had known me in real life, but this confirmed it for me. The sender of the email had contacted me shortly after confronting the imposter for the first time. I guess after 2 years, they'd finally become suspicious of the fact that imposter wouldn't show their face. I have no idea how it took this long for them to figure that they were being played, but I'm glad they finally decided to give the ultimatum of "show your face, or I'm cutting you off." I'm pretty sure this is the point where the imposter admitted to being a catfish and that she'd been using the identity of someone she had a crush on in high school before hanging up. I was given the URL so I could look through the profile myself, which was up for about 2 days after I saw it before it was all removed. It was definitely really bizarre. The imposter had posted more than I ever had on Facebook, and it genuinely seemed like they'd lived a pretty involved double life online as me. Almost everyone I'd posted photos with on my real profile would then have their own fake profiles created that had enough content to be genuinely convincing so they could be tagged in and validate these new photos. Some of these profiles seemed to have gone and made their own real friends as well, and I wondered if any of those were used to facilitate even more online dating deception. Either way, the amount of time that this person had spent fabricating their alter ego's online presence was pretty shocking. The whole time I'd been crawling down this Facebook rabbit hole, the sender of the email was looking through my real profile. After a while she sent me a message saying, "Did you take these photographs?" and showed me what I remember as a black and white photos of a bun or something. I hadn't. Which was weird since everything else on the fake profile originated with me and she noticed the discrepancy. We both tried reverse image searching with no luck. Then, either through a stroke of genius or somewhat suspiciously, I really couldn't tell, she thought to flip the fake number imposter had written into the fake FB profile around in reverse, and a Google search came up with a landline that belonged the home address of a girl that I'd gone to high school with. Real me was Facebook friends with real imposter's profile, so we both went snooping around and found the photo that she'd claimed I'd taken, which pretty much confirmed to me that this was the imposter. I'm pretty sure there were more indicators to the sender as well, but I can't remember. I thought about messaging her for a while, but decided that it probably wouldn't lead to anything good. At the time my thoughts were definitely let's not meet. I talked a few times with the sender of the email just to try and decompress a bit, but honestly just wanted to distance myself from the situation and also had my suspicions about the sender as well. I figured maybe it was imposter's one last ditch effort to try and talk to me, although when it was all over, the sender seemed to be eager to leave this all behind as well. So maybe not. Either way, it was a really strange experience. I felt mostly freaked out and violated, but I guess there was a small part of me that was flattered by it. I had a lot of mixed emotions. The weirdest part to me is I'm a really approachable person and would have definitely been willing to talk and probably be friends if this person had just approached me instead. Although I'm still not sure if this was done out of an obsession for me, or if this person felt like I was just a suitable image to base this fabricated persona off of. I remember talking to her probably twice throughout high school and really didn't have a very good idea of who she was other than a quiet hipster girl. If either person involved reads this, I'd definitely be happy to talk now. It's been years, but I've gone from being very put off to always wondered why this person chose me over a myriad of other more attractive or interesting people online to base their other life off of. According to the sender who contacted me, she'd probably spend more time online pretending to be me than she actually did going about her own life. I have a tumultuous history of addiction and have had plenty of my own escapes, which is why it's always fascinated me that someone would want to pretend to live someone else's life as a means of doing that. Because at the end of the day, the person pretending to be me had no idea that I spent my time daydreaming of being a different person as well. I guess it just goes to show that no matter how much you wish you were someone else, chances are that person has plenty of their own reasons to want to escape their own demons. For their own reasons. Thanks for reading. My dad unknowingly saved me from being kidnapped. Then he walked away and left me alone with the same man. When I was in 4th grade, 9-10 I was enrolled in a program that was only available at a school pretty far away from my house. So my bus rides were about 45 minutes each way. This particular route picked up several other kids from the program who were coming from farther away, but I was the first one on and the last one off by about 15-20 minutes. At first we all loved our bus driver. He was probably in his late 50s, early 60s, and he talked to us a lot about his life and always took an interest in ours. Since me and my friends got on the bus so early, we would sit in the front and chat with him for most of the ride. He let us get away with everything from screaming, yelling, and singing loudly, to even climbing over or underneath seats while the bus was moving. Over time he started to share with us more and more about his personal life, including strange things like finding his wife unconscious in the bathtub one day. All my friends loved how he treated us like we were his peers, but I was starting to get a little weirded out by him. He started doing odd things, like pulling over in front of houses that had left perfectly usable things out on the curb for pickup, like a padlock or a folding chair, but he let us set up the folding chair in the aisle, so we all just laughed and had a good time. Since I was alone with him for almost half the bus ride every day, he started to take a special interest in me. He started bringing me presents, usually books since I was a known bookworm. It was nice at first, but as time went on I stopped talking to him so much while we were alone and tried to keep to myself and my books. One day, he loudly announced to everyone that he would not be driving us the following day because he had jury duty. He kept bringing it up to make sure we weren't confused when a sub came to pick us up in the morning. Since I live so far away and my house was right in front of a neighborhood intersection, my bus stop was literally right outside my door, and I was the only kid there. The morning comes that our driver has jury duty, and I go out to wait for the bus as usual. That's when I notice there's a red pickup truck parked and running right across the street. A minute later, a man steps out of the truck. It's my bus driver. He waves and crosses the street towards me, saying he was worried about the sub finding me and wanted to make sure I got on the bus okay. At that moment my dad, who was very unusually staying home from work that day, came out to check on me since he hadn't heard the bus come at the usual time. Sub was running behind, like they usually do. My bus driver got immediately nervous when he saw my dad, but he didn't leave. He kind of hung out with us, awkwardly insisting he was just concerned about me getting onto the bus. My dad was obviously weirded out, but, for some reason I'll never understand, he went back inside after a few minutes of waiting to call the bus company and see if I had missed it. My bus driver relaxed and started enthusiastically chatting with me again, and I noticed he was coming closer and closer to where I was standing on the sidewalk. 45 seconds later, the substitute finally showed up and I gratefully got on the bus. My usual bus driver looked kind of confused, as if he had forgotten the bus was still coming for me, and as we pulled away I saw him look around and hurry back into his truck. According to my dad, when he came back out and saw both me and the strange bus driver gone, he panicked and called all over to make sure I had gotten to school safe. He likely scolded me when I got home, but I think we both knew it wasn't my fault and he had just been scared. After that year the program I was in moved, so our bus route and driver changed. A couple years later, a classmate who didn't live too far from me brought up that she had been seeing a strange man in a red pickup truck waiting outside her bus stop in the mornings. Her parents noticed too and used that website where you can look up local sex offenders, and lo and behold, he popped up. I asked her to describe what he looked like, and yep, that was the bus driver who had come to visit me on his day off. I tell this story somewhat jokingly to people when we're on the subject of creepy old men, but over time the realization that I had almost been kidnapped kind of sunk in, and it makes me pretty uncomfortable to think about now. Anyway, that's the story of how my dad unwittingly saved me from a pedophile and then kind of stupidly dropped the ball and left my rescue up to pure chance. Mr. Bus Driver, let's please not meet again. To the man who walked out of the woods last night. So I live on a property bordered by woods, which is a pretty cliche way to start off one of these stories, but it's important. Part of the woods that borders my house is owned by Mike, who used to own my house as well. Mike is a very, very friendly gentleman and he'll regularly wander onto our property when he sees that my dad is out because he likes to talk to him. It sounds creepy, but that's just how people are around here. Anyways, I want to make it known that he's an upstanding and incredibly friendly guy. So I have chickens and I love the feathery duckers to death. Everything about them makes shitloads of dopamine be dumped into my brain. They've become somewhat of an antidepressant for me and I hold them very dear. Naturally I go watch and check on them every day, and yesterday was no different. The coop backs up onto the forest, which has caused some problems in the past, but we've patched that all up. Also, when I went to visit them it was pretty dark, which isn't a normal occurrence, it's just that daylight savings has just hit and I had a trip to the dentist right after school. So I was going about my business making sure the chickens were okay when I hear an inordinate amount of sticks cracking in the forest behind me. I turn around and see a man. It's dark and I already have pretty bad vision, so he's mostly just a hazy shape. I expect him to say something, but he doesn't. He just keeps walking towards me. You know the phrase fight or flight? They really need to add freeze in there as well, because despite this suspicious man walking towards me I didn't do anything. I just froze while my brain screamed at me that I was about to be murdered. Luckily he didn't, he just made a sharp turn left onto a gravel road and kept walking, not saying anything. I told my mom what happened and she said that since the man came from Mike's side of the forest it was probably Mike, but I just really can't believe that. Mike wouldn't just not say anything for one. 2, this didn't fit Mike's usual patterns, which I'll elaborate on if anyone wants to know, since it really makes me think this wasn't him. But to be honest I really hope it was. Even then I'm going to start double checking that my door is locked. Whoa, you made it to the end? You're a ducking beast. I'll cut you a deal. Smash like and subscribe for more curated content. It's free and that's a great price.